Okay, so, all right, guys, thank you everybody for coming to this Duolingo event. I'm happy to see you all. My name is David Pena. I'm an American English teacher from New Jersey, right now living in Mexico. And I host English events. I teach English to young children, teens, adults, especially, and teenagers. And today I'm hosting this interview with Sergeant Mark Bartlett from the United States Marine Corps. He will be answering a couple of questions today and telling us about, his life here. He's working with the consulate right now in Guadalajara, and we're going to learn about some military life, discipline, and a couple of things like that. So, all right. So you have the floor, the Zoom floor, Sergeant Mark. All right. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, some information, some background that you would like to share with us today?
Sure. So I grew up in Oklahoma. I'm from the United States. Joined the United States Marine Corps in 2008. So I've been in for a little over 13 years now. I started my Marine Corps career going to boot camp in San Diego, California. It's a 13-week long boot camp where we learn everything from close order and discipline, drill, the kind of marching and stuff you see in movies and TV, to shooting, combat tactics, first aid, medical skills, all the types of things that you would think that would apply to being, in the military. We learned those for 13 weeks. After that, we go and attend the 4-week school at the School of Infantry, where we learn infantry tactics and how to, fight, basically. And then we go to a follow-on school for our military occupational specialty. My particular one is I'm a satellite radio communications technician, meaning satellite radios communicate to satellites in the sky, and I fix those when they're broken. So kind of like more of a technical job, kind of a nerd a little bit in regards to stuff like that. I've had the opportunity to serve in multiple places across the world and work with multiple different armed forces. I've lived in San Diego, Brooklyn, New York, Manama, Bahrain. I've been to Jordan, Qatar, Oman, the United Arab Emirates, Bridgetown, Barbados, and now I'm here in Guadalajara, Mexico. During my time in Bridgetown, Barbados, I worked at the United States Embassy there, serving as the detachment commander for the Marine Security Guard detachment. And basically what that is I don't know if you've seen any movies where there's embassies or consulates in the movie. There's always Marines there standing guard. I have a team of Marines under my charge that I'm responsible for while, training and ensuring that they can protect the embassy and the embassy employees in case of an attack. And that's what I'm doing right now in Guadalajara as well for the United States Consulate here. I love being in the Marine Corps. It's my chosen career. I plan on being in as long as they'll keep me around. But as I get older, I get more responsibility, but it gets more and more difficult. It's very physically demanding, but I'm doing pretty all right. I think I'm doing good.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for that. Awesome. That's really amazing, and we're really happy to have you here as well here in Mexico. So thank you so much for that. All right. So a couple of questions I have here. Number one. All right. So what do you like? You might have answered this a little bit, but what do you like most about being a part of the Marine Corps?
That's a really good question. I like the camaraderie. I always tell my wife that the Marines keep me young. So it's not often do in your workspaces as you go on, you directly interact with younger and younger individuals. But every year I'm getting older and the youngest Marine's getting younger, if that makes any sense. You can join the Marine Corps at 17 years old. Most join at 18 years old. And as I'm continuing to age, that bottom never gets any older. It's always 18 every year as a new group of Marines coming in. So my favorite part about being in the Marine Corps is the Marines itself. We're the smallest branch of the military in the United States military. And as such, we receive the least amount of funding. So as a leader, it is within my best interest to invest into the Marine itself and the person, because the Marine Corps' greatest asset is always going to be the individual that can do more with less. And so because of that, I feel like just the camaraderie and being able to build a team and working with like-minded individuals is probably my favorite part about being in the Marine Corps.
Okay, but well, thank you. All right.
You're
So the ability to doing more with less, I did not know that. I did know about the branch and a couple of things. I actually did not know about that, like the kind of tight budget you guys have. But it definitely
Yeah.
makes sense that you guys are, you guys don't crack under pressure, literally.
So
And,
put it into perspective, right? Like University of Michigan, their American football stadium, right, holds what, 105,000 individuals. There's 175,000 Marines in the entire Marine Corps. So less than 2 Michigan stadiums full is the entirety of the United States Marine Corps. That's everybody. So that kind of puts it into perspective how now 175,000 people is no small number by any means, but in perspective of what you think it would, the United States could produce, we're incredibly small in comparison, especially to all the other branches. All the other branches are larger by multiple magnitudes.
right. Okay. Thank you for the perspective. Right. All right. And that's something interesting to really keep in mind for anybody, who's also studying, the Marine Corps, learning about it. It's a very interesting fact. Thank you. Okay. Next question. As an officer, did you ever work with any particular animal, a canine unit or something similar?
Not directly, but there are canine units all throughout the Marine Corps. And they're used for the same, civilian uses that you would see. There are military police, and they're used for search and seizure, drugs. We have as Marines, we have the same societal concerns as the rest of society does in regards to people are still people, Marines are still people, and things like that happen. We do a lot with like bomb sniffing as well. And so mostly just dogs, really. There's no really other Marine Corps animal, but yeah.
All right, thank you. All right. Next question. Now, I know the United States Marine Corps has a recommended reading list for officers, for people who are coming in so forth. Sorry, and I was just wondering if you have read any of these 2 books, which are also some of my personal favorite, which is The Art of War and Ender's Game. So I know they're in the recommended reading list. Have you read them, and what's your take on those books?
Yes, I've read them both. So the cool thing about The Art of War, right, is back a while ago, an American created a warfare doctrine. His name is Joseph Clausewitz, right? And a lot of the warfare doctrine that American used in World War II and then continues to use throughout the way that it fights its battles is based upon his doctrine, which was based upon Sun Tzu's doctrine during, The Art of War. That's which he wrote The Art of War. And so, yes, I've read both of those books. The Art of War is definitely a book that's studious in nature in regards to how you approach that book. Ender's Game, in my opinion, is more entertaining, but they both drive the same, not necessarily the same point, but both they drive it towards an impact in the Marine Corps. Ender's Game, all those books are great books. I highly recommend. There's an entire series that everyone reads those. The movie's fun to watch too. Good graphics, good action scenes, the whole thing, and it sends the right message. The Ender's Games definitely was oriented towards a younger Marine, and that's the reason why it's on the list, because it sends the message that you want: teamwork, team building, creative problem solving, but packages it in a way that an 18, 19-year-old will be engaged in understanding when he reads it. Sun Tzu's Art of War is a little more detailed and philosophical, which means it lends itself to being more appealing to the older Marines. And so that's how that Commandant's recommended reading list is broken down. It's broken down by rank, which in turn is basically age. Young Marines are going to be lower rank than older Marines. That's just kind of how it works. Seniority dictates a lot of the way we get promoted and advanced. And so there's also other books like Ready Player One. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Yes, I have.
That book's also on the reading list, and it's geared towards younger Marines. And where some of the more serious books like On Call in Hell, which is a book about a medical doctor in the Battle of Fallujah. It's really, really heavy, but it sends a really, really heavy message to leaders. So it's oriented more towards people that have Marines under their charge, vice towards Marines that are under someone else's charge, if that makes sense. Both great books, though. I highly recommend. It's an easy Google search for anybody. United States Marine Corps Commandant's Professional Reading List. Look it up. pull a book off there, and all those are it's geared towards us to you know, as like a not substitute, supplement kind of what we learn as we go along in our day-to-day, you know, leadership training and things like that. These books are to pull in outside sources to give different perspectives to aid in our development as leaders.
Great. All right. I definitely will take a look at that list again and follow your reading recommendations, sir. I will do. Thank you. As for video games, I believe in a previous session, you mentioned that you're a big fan of Call of Duty. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am in the top 1% percentile of all Warzone players in the world, according to the stats. Call of Duty is my thing. I love video games in general. It's a great way to decompress. I'm a dad and a husband now, so the days of like going out and partying are kind of, you know, aside. So now, like, how I entertain myself, I work out a lot, obviously, to stay in good shape. And then and my secondary hobby is playing video games, and Call of Duty is always going to be at the top of the list. It fits, you know, similarly kind of what I'm interested in my profession, I guess, although Call of Duty is extremely exaggerated. But it's very, 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 very fun, and I absolutely love playing video games.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Next question here. So what do you think that maybe civilians should really incorporate more into their life? You know, speaking from a military discipline point of view, what kind of things should they really learn from the Marine Corps and be like, I really should do this?
My kids have kind of taught me this, because before I had children, I interacted, the youngest people I interacted with were the youngest Marines, and they kind of trend towards the same way. They trend with culture, you know, like, so as the Marines are coming in, they're taking culturally what is existing in the world and bringing it into the Marine Corps. And I think what a lot of people, this is just my pure opinion, could benefit from bringing from the Marine Corps to civilian world is like, it's kind of two-part. Creative problem solving is one. A lot of people, we all have problems. Problems are something that everybody has. And a lot of people look outward to solve their problems without looking inward, saying, hey, like, how do I take this issue and how do I tackle it as a problem and come up with a solution myself, vice like someone helping me, which kind of pairs into like resiliency, right? We've become, in my opinion, now this is purely my opinion, not a representation of the Marine Corps at all, but in my opinion, we've become over reliant on outward sources of resiliency. Like, I need someone to help me do this, or I'm struggling with this, so it's someone else's responsibility to help me through it. Like, growing up and in a young age, and the Marine Corps has taught me, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Well, now we're in a society where we're looking at words hurting us, and they don't have to, I don't think. I think if someone says something negative to you, you don't have to take it. You don't have to, and I don't mean by not take it like fight them. I mean, you don't have to listen to it. You can just as easily be like, no, I don't believe what you're saying, or what you're saying isn't true because I know who I am. So marrying those two things, a little bit of creative problem solving, because that's what the Marine Corps does. We do less with little, or most with little, and we do everything we can to solve a problem as creatively as possible. And then we have to rely on ourselves for resiliency. When you're forward deployed in a combat zone, or you're facing, looking at some sort of atrocious scenarios that we may encounter, there's no one to look at and be like, can you make them stop? I'm uncomfortable. You have to internalize it and be able to handle that. And I think society could take that from the Marine Corps. Now, I also understand that the Marine Corps is not for everybody. So society being able to take that from the Marine Corps could be a tough sell, because, not everybody wants that type of lifestyle. But I would tell you, if you could find a way to, do that, you're a lot better off. Rarely am I comfortable in what I do, if that makes any sense. And that's because you put yourself in uncomfortable positions so you can easily overcome them. So if I'm practicing being uncomfortable, when it comes time to where I'm forced uncomfortable, it's not so foreign to me. I hope that makes sense. It was kind of a rant, but I hope that makes sense.
That's okay. It makes sense. All right.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe that in the Marine Corps martial arts program, there is a saying called one mind, any weapon.
Correct.
I don't know if I said that correctly, or yes?
Yep.
One mind, any weapon.
So one mind, any weapon.
my personal take on it is, like you mentioned, the Marine Corps, versatility to really be, open-minded to multiple ways of solving a problem. What's your take on that, and how can that really be applied to everyday life?
No, you're exactly right. So that's what it is. So it's a Marine Corps martial arts program. We call it Mact. It's just like any other martial arts program. There's belt levels, tan, gray, green, brown, black, and you go through the levels, and and as you progress and you train and you learn the different techniques, you advance just like you would in karate or jujitsu or something like that. Granted, those are age old and probably much more technical. Those are art forms. That's not what this is. This is a little bit different than that. But in doing so, in order to advance, you're put into positions to discuss what we call ethical decision games, or we just call them tie-ins is what we do. And basically it's like a scenario and you're presented with it, and like, how do you creatively problem solve this? An age-old one goes back to like, there's, someone's on the train tracks, but if you don't pull them off the train tracks, you'll kill the people on the train tracks. But then if you don't, the person in the cab who could cure cancer, that whole story. I don't remember the exact adage, but you're forced with, like, you put your mind, you do this like heavy physical activity, you fight a little bit, you learn, you belt up, you get the techniques right, and then they present you with like a mental game, and that's the whole one mind any weapon thing. And how you apply that is like, I think, like I said, you need to constantly be putting yourselves into uncomfortable positions, because the more you're uncomfortable, I know this sounds like counterintuitive, the more comfortable you'll be. Because if let's take public speaking, for example, right? You hate public speaking. You really are nervous doing that. What's the best way to get good at public speaking? By public speaking. Eventually, you'll get comfortable enough with it so you're no longer uncomfortable. So in the long run, you're more comfortable by being uncomfortable. That's kind of just a real like baseline example, but it applies to a lot of things. Manual transmissions in a car. Like, a lot of people have never even done that. They never even touched it. And then if you ever find yourself where you're in a situation where the only vehicle you have is a manual transmission, then you've never been put in the uncomfortable position to overcome that, so you are comfortable with it. And I think I kind of live my life like, I think in my head all the time, like I'm at the gym, or I don't want to do this right now. So that's the thing I do first, just because if I don't want to do it, that means I obviously need to work on it.
Great. Okay. So yes, the importance of not being comfortable. I think that's something really important, getting out of that comfort zone, because, that's where real growth happens.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So right now you're in the consulate in Guadalajara, correct?
Yes, that's where I work. I'm at home right now, but that's where I work. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, at home. Great. What do you like most about Guadalajara, sir, over here in Mexico? What's
food?
Food.
The food. The food is amazing.
What's your favorite dish so far?
My favorite food so far is tacos de chicharrón. Oh my gosh, what's the word?
Prensado? Chicharrón prensado? Is that the one?
No, it's like, I don't know. It's a taco with chicharrones, but there's an adjectives behind it, because there's two versions, and I can't remember which one it was. If I had the menu in front of me, I would. Salsa? No, that can't be it. Either way, it's like wet. It's not like crunchy. It's kind of wet.
It's a wet taco.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a taco. Tacos are my favorite.
Okay, great. Okay, have you tried mole? Maybe green mole or
I love
mole.
I've had mole before. I had mole in the States. So my wife's aunt's from Oaxaca.
Oh, cool.
So I'm a little familiar with the food. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, same thing. When I was a young child and I was taking Spanish classes back in New Jersey, I had to kind of research mole. That was what my Spanish teacher assigned me, and one of the ingredients I read was chocolate and chili. So I was really surprised because as an American, I just thought like chocolate and chili, like did they mix like Snickers and chili, or was it a Hershey's bar? I mean, that's what I thought years ago. And I was really interested in trying mole. My mother would say, when we travel to Mexico and meet your family, they're going to prepare mole, you're going to taste it. Because she used to prepare it there at home, but she told me that it really wasn't the authentic mole that she was used to. just because of the
Mhm.
ingredients weren't, local.
Right.
So yeah, I, eventually did travel, came settled here in Mexico, and one of the first things I did was try mole, and it's never been a better experience. Yeah, it's one of
Yeah,
my favorites.
mole chilaquiles. That's what I really like that too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent. All right. So let's see. Well, okay. Now I'm gonna let the attendees here ask a couple of questions. All right. So I believe somebody wrote a question in the chat. Let me see if I can find it.
I see it.
Yes. Um,
I can answer it. It's not too
all right.
rude. It's
No?
not too.
All right then.
No,
If you're okay answering this question, go ahead. You can do it, Sergeant.
So first off, I have no special forces training. That's like a level above what I am. So Marines are here and they're special forces. So they're well beyond what we do. That being said, I caution anyone to take things from Hollywood and apply them so literally. I'm sure there is someone out there that can do what you say, but I would think not very many of us, just to be honest with you. But great question. Like seriously, like that's kind of like the reason why I like doing these interviews is because a lot of what you see in the media and a lot of things that are what you think are expressed via Hollywood or whatever the case may be. They're embellished, but they're embellished due to entertainment. You have to embellish things. Otherwise, I mean, most of what I do is 99% boring. Like I'm on the computer, doing Microsoft Excel, sending emails, making sure people are getting paid properly and things like that. So it's not as ever going to be as exciting as Con Air. Great movie, by the way. But could there be some guy out there with some sort of special training? Sure, but it's definitely not me. I'm not that guy.
Okay.
Great question.
All right. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them up in the chat. Okay. I and Sergeant Mark ourselves will look at them, and if we can answer them, we'll do so. Oh, there's another one. Okay, I'll read it. It says, "Hello, Mark. Nice to meet you. One question. In your opinion, what is the martial art that fits more for self-defense?"
So
Okay.
I've done a little bit of it, but I'm not at all a pro, so I don't feel like I can speak on its actual application well. But if you look at Israeli Krav Maga, that is awesome. That I think that probably fits self-defense really well. A lot of it's really applicable. There's martial arts out there like Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu. They're literally arts. I feel like Krav Maga is based in like modern reality and how you would have to fight an adversary. There's a lot of disarming techniques. A lot of if someone's coming at you with a knife, how do you take the knife out of their hands? Or if somebody's coming at you with a gun, how do you take the gun out of their hands? And so that to me seems like it fits. But I'm not an expert. I feel like all of those probably have their uses, and I'm sure an expert in jiu-jitsu would sit here and laugh me out of this conversation about how there's no way that that's the best on defense, but that's my opinion. I feel like probably the Israelis' Krav Maga is pretty good.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that comment as well. As I mentioned before, my grandfather was in the National Reserve, and my father also used to be a police officer. And before that, he was also a martial arts student and then later instructor.
Awesome.
He's been a great inspiration for me, and has always helped me stay sharp and focus alongside martial arts. Not everything is fists and kicks. It's discipline, it's mental stability, it's leadership, it's knowing how to conduct yourself in the arts as well as knowing how to conduct yourself in self-defense. So yeah, in that regard as well, I've seen some of Krav Maga, and I think it's a very interesting martial art to also really take on. Let's see another one. It says, "What do you do to manage the pressure in situations where your life is in danger?"
Training, right? That comes with putting yourself in uncomfortable positions so you're comfortable when they are actually uncomfortable. And so what I do, like particularly here at the consulate and at embassies, there's always a chance of protests or an attack on the compound. And so we train every imaginable way possible. Specifically putting myself in, doing putting myself in the role of the attacker is the best way to put that, right? I gear my training toward the mindset of like, how would I attack this? And then I build strengths towards, those attacks on the back end. And so there's been a few occasions where like it played out exactly like we thought it would, and it works perfectly. And so rarely in situations like that, especially in high pressure situations, do you rise to the occasion. There's always those Medal of Honor winners that do, but most of the time you fall back on your training, if that makes sense. Rarely do you rise to the occasion. You most likely will fall back on your training. So if you have a high baseline of training to fall back on, it makes it a lot easier to rise to the occasion. You're moving less distance, so to speak. So that's how we manage pressure situations. And then repetition, like the first time you're in a weird situation, it's pretty weird. But after, 5 or 6 times, and it becomes routine due to repetition. And, like I said, it plays into the whole, that one, obviously we're not choosing to be uncomfortable, but being forced to be uncomfortable makes us more and more comfortable every time it happens.
Great, thank you so much. Let's see. Okay, well, a couple of questions come up. I was wondering, and I believe I read this. I think a big misconception of people who are under stress is that they're told to breathe rapidly. However, I have actually read that in the Marine Corps they train the soldiers to not kind of hyperventilate and be like but actually to kind of breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it in, and then exhale for 5 seconds, and then repeat the process. So it's kind of a very deep, I'm going to say, like kind of holistic breathing. Is this correct?
Yes, we call it box breathing. Right?
Okay.
So you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you breathe in for 4 seconds, you just repeat, and it makes a box. 4 up, 4 hold, 4 down, 4 hold, 4 up. And what it does is it slows your heart rate down. And that's the key. So if you ever hold your breath and you feel like your heart's kind of boom, 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 it slows down. That's exactly the intent of it. And what happens, what ends up happening is like you're going to get adrenaline no matter what. So if you're in a situation where you have the adrenaline pumping and your heart rate's high, you're pumping a lot of adrenaline, which can be good in a high stress situation, but it also will cause you to, it's called an adrenaline crash. So if you can control your breathing before you spike your adrenaline, you don't want to spike your adrenaline in anticipation. So like if you're on the way to a battle, your adrenaline's going to start flowing, but you need to slow your heart rate down so you don't crash in the middle of the battle, because there'll eventually be a point during a fight where you're going to become not comfortable, but you're going to settle into the situation. And if you do that and you have that adrenaline flowing and then it crashes you, then you're not going to be as attentive as you were before. So it's called box breathing.
Okay. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'll personally do that myself. I know, obviously, I'm not in a combat situation, but I do believe that this is helpful.
Me neither.
Okay. Okay. Next, we also have, let's see. Give me this. Okay. Next question. How do you think the people of South America see you or think about your profession, defense, or rejection? Would you like to answer this question, or would you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I hope that they see me as welcoming. I'm not here to be mean or and I carry myself that way. I'm nice and I smile and I wave to everyone. But there are people in America who probably don't see me very well. That's just the way the world is. You can't be liked by everyone. But I don't put too much stock into it. I sleep well at night knowing that I'm a polite professional to everybody that I meet. And if there are people that have a certain bias towards me for some reason or another, it's not because of anything that I've done. And so I don't necessarily feel any rejection, but I don't look for it. I don't take offense to people, feeling one way or being, maybe a little bit rude towards me or something like that, because it's not, I understand that it's not personal. And at the same time, I'm a guest here, especially in Guadalajara. I'm a guest in their country. And so I act like a guest, like I would in someone's home. Like I do what I can to adapt to the language and the social customs and norms, like just like I did when I was in the Middle East. The Middle East is a lot more strict when it comes to, conforming to customs. During Ramadan, if it's very rude to eat and drink in front of the practitioners of the Muslim religion, because they are required to fast during the daylight hours. And so I have a lot of experience with that, and it's very important to me to ensure that I don't come off as offensive. And like I said, I am a good guest in the country that is welcoming me, and that's how I am. If at any point the country didn't want us here, like you've seen in the past, they would kick us out. We have no legal right to be here. They could tell us to leave anytime they want, and it's because that we maintain these relationships of professionalism and just being nice and good people that we are allowed to stay. And I'm grateful that they allow me to stay here.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Mhm.
Next question says, hello, Mark. Great. Well, maybe that's a typo. It says, what's the best way to be a strong person when I'm in a country that's not my own, from where I can't get any job or would defend myself if someone did me wrong? Well, I guess maybe we can focus on the first part of that question. What's the best way to become a strong person when you are, not in a country that is your own, you're overseas, or, whatever the situation?
Yeah. It ties into the previous answer. Just understand that you're a guest. I know it may be hard if people are mistreating you or something, but just be nice to everyone. This world, and maybe I wouldn't even have a job, but this world could go a long ways if everyone was just nice to everybody, right? And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that. Just be nice. Like, look at someone and be like, if I said this to them, would that hurt my feelings if they said it to me? And then don't say it. And you'll see the quicker that you assimilate to someone else's culture. And I speak poquito Espanol, like very little, but I try really hard. And I get a lot of patience from people that are, salespeople or people at grocery stores that probably don't want to, but because I'm trying, I feel like I get a lot more positive response than if I just was like, "Yo hablo inglés," and I just want, can you speak English to me? Because that's rude to me. And so if I would say, if you're in a foreign country, do your best to assimilate, try to learn the language, because right there, you're walking miles in their eyes. And then be a good person, be nice. As for the finding a job or defending yourself, not my expertise. I'm sorry. I wish I could help, but I don't have the answers to that one.
That's okay, sir. Thank you. Next, it says, how do you get over being far away from your relatives or people that you love? So you mentioned that you're from Oklahoma. Right now, you're in Guadalajara, so that's a long distance.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that, sir?
Well, I mean, the internet makes it a lot easier, I would say, for sure. What helps me right now is my wife and kids are with me, so that helps. My immediate family's here. We're all together in Guadalajara. When I was in the Middle East, they weren't with me. That was difficult. I didn't see my second son's birth. My wife got pregnant before I left. We found out short term that I was going over there, and then she had the baby while I was still over there. So that's sad. But it's not like it was back in the old letter writing days. Look at us right now. We're all talking video face to face, and I could do that with my family right now. I have WhatsApp and Facebook, and I could call my mom and my brother right now. I play Xbox with my brother almost every night.
Oh, cool.
So it's not as hard as it would be. I mean, because if I was back in Oklahoma, I wouldn't live in the same house with them either. And it would probably even be worse. You'd probably be like, man, how do I avoid seeing them so much? So I think it runs a fine balance, and it's never too far of a plane ride away if I want to go visit. So it's okay. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt my feelings. And plus, we kind of like living this life. We get to go all these different countries and see different parts of the world that, a lot of, speaking of Americans, a lot of Americans, due to the size of America, never leave America, and a bunch never even leave their hometown. So I've been all over the place now. So that's exciting.
Yes. Our next question kind of goes into that. It says, what country did or do you like? Okay, from the ones that you have visited, and why? So.
Ooh. I like them all. They all have like like the wadis in Oman are amazing. If you don't know what a wadi is, it's like a kind of like an oasis a little bit. Like you know, I went to Dubai on New Year's, which was you can't really beat Dubai on New Year's, so that was pretty fun. I think my favorite though is Guadalajara, definitely. I like the people in Guadalajara. I like their culture, the food. Like everyone's very very nice to me, which is surprising. Barbados was great, but Barbados it has beautiful beaches, beautiful turquoise water, but the country pushed all of its ships to the center of that, and so after you're there for a little bit, you get island fever and you want to go somewhere else. And so we loved Barbados. The people in Barbados are also great. Just Guadalajara has much more to do, especially for my kids. Like we can go to the zoo and we can go, like we went to Mexico City and saw the pyramids. That's the first time in my life I've seen pyramids. So it was awesome.
Oh, okay, yeah, it is. That's one of the first things I also did when I came to Mexico. Like maybe 1 month later, they told me, hey, come visit the pyramids. They're great. And yeah, you will get sunburned if you go in the summer. I mean, even in the winter, you might even get a slightly sunburned in the winter here in Mexico because it just really doesn't snow. Where I don't think it snows in Guadalajara. I'm close to Mexico City. Doesn't really snow here as well, so we do catch a lot of sun. Yeah. Excellent. Let's see. Well, we have one last question. It says, Mark, do you know the book Convict Conditioning by Paul Wade? And what do you think about this exercise? Exercises in this book is close to your exercise in the Army. I don't know.
So I've never heard of the book Convict Conditioning, excuse me, but I can't foresee it being too dissimilar. When it comes to exercising, it's all, increase your heart rate, muscle stress, muscular confusion. But I'll definitely look at it because I'm always looking for new things to add to my repertoire, and then build those things into training my guys to see if they can get something a little bit different out of it. Because when you exercise every day, it tends to stagnate. Sometimes you get bored. So if this book gives me something new, then I'm going to look it up right when we're done here and see what it's about.
Sure. All right. So thank you so much. We're about to finish off. So. A really big thank you to you, Sergeant Mark, for coming here and spending our time with us, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in. It's nice to see you. I hope we can do this again. Yes, and a really sincere thank you for your service and Semper Fidelis.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone's questions. It was